Eat like a king who's on a budget. 3 tasty options, fries, drink, and nuggets. All for $5. Wait, that can't be right. Just confirm that that's the real price. BK, have it your way.
Welcome into LeatherBrainz. Your host, Slapdog here, and gentlemen and ladies who may be tuning in, we have made it to almost the end of week 1 in the NFL, and what a week it was. Now, I'm not going to do this show alone. I am joined today by my 2 very good friends, Alan Casanova Castro and Scotty Del Rey. Gentlemen, week 1, we're here. We made it. It's great. I was glued to the couch the entire weekend. We had college football, go Skurs. We got that shutout win. It was beautiful. And then we got to watch our teams compete. I mean, you guys did prior to the Saturday games in college, because the Huskers did play they did play on Saturday, excuse me. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Cincinnati game. I didn't get to watch the Husker game, unfortunately, because it was my anniversary. So I had to go do those things. Thank you. I'm married. I have done it, and now I'm married for you. You did it. So, but I did get to watch Sunday football, and that's what we're here to talk about today, gentlemen. Sunday, Thursday, and then we'll wrap this thing up by kind of giving a preview about the Monday night game here. So we are officially live for all of you that are not on Spotify. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, you're a day late and $1 short. But for everybody else, we're live. We're here. Throw your comments into the chat. We will certainly interact with you guys, and excited to do so. But let's just jump into... We'll start with Thursday night. This is the Great Spitoff, gentlemen. This was the Cowboys-Eagles. We're labeling this the Great Spitoff, of course, because Jalen Carter got ejected before he even got to play a single snap here. He spit on Dak Prescott. Pretty disgusting. I mean, that was not something that was... you kind of like that, Scotty.
Depends on who's doing the spitting.
Jalen Carter. He's doing the spitting.
It could be worse. At least he's, rich. Could be like just a nobody.
So like a rich man spitting on you is still somewhat of a turn on.
I think there are lots of prostitutes throughout history who would attest to that. Yes.
That opening kickoff was quite a kickoff to the season. You had a guy going down tearing his ACL, and then you have, before a snap is even had, Jalen's getting kicked out of the game for spitting on Dak. Like that was quite a start to the NFL season.
I couldn't think of a better way to start off the NFL season. We don't root for injuries here, so we got to state that.
Injuries aside, the spitting was
spitting. But it also, you think about it, like that could have cost the Eagles this game. I mean, if you really start to think about it, the Eagles won this game 24-20, but losing Jalen Carter, arguably the best defensive player up for the Eagles, was not a good look for the Eagles, and now he could possibly face a suspension going into week 2 for spitting on Dak as well.
A suspension just seems kind of crazy to me. I definitely agree with, like, okay, you're out of the game, you're obviously going insane, but a suspension, like, okay.
That seems
the NFL's had a really hard time throughout its history to try and narrow down like what appropriate punishments are for what actions, and a suspension for like a just heat of the moment, you spit on a guy, you'll be fine as long as you don't have like some communicable disease.
It's pretty gross.
It's not a big deal.
It's not like a good thing. You shouldn't, and I think the suspension would be just like, hey, we have to ensure that players aren't spitting on each other. Could you imagine if they did this during COVID?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. He'd probably get arrested. Yeah, probably life in prison at that point.
To the sun.
Yeah, that's probably life. But you guys have played football. You know what happens in the middle of like a pile of a football game. So spitting, I feel like is... I guess it's also very NFL to totally fumble concussions, but like be right on top of somebody spitting on somebody else.
It's an easy win for them.
All right,
you
guys,
can see the spitting.
Not the spitting.
Well, and the other thing that's kind of interesting is, and I don't know if you guys had seen this, but Dak had kind of spit in Jalen Carter's direction before Jalen Carter spit on him. He'd spit, it kind of hit his offensive lineman, but he very visibly was kind of like taunting Jalen Carter when he spit, and he was like, hey,
he was
not
man? Spitting on him, though. He was just spitting.
He was spitting in his direction.
He was looking in the general vicinity of another player on the field. It's pretty hard to not spit in the general vicinity of someone else when you're on a football field. That was bullshit. And he was talking shit, but everybody's talking shit, and Jalen Carter just decided to take it to the next level. It's also always the second guy who gets punished.
That is true. That is true. If you have siblings, everybody knows that it's always the second that gets caught, not the first. But the thing that kind of interested me was Dak was like, in his post-game presser was like, there's no room for that. That's disgusting. Like, And it's like, okay, but nobody's talking about you spitting. Yeah, he's like, yeah. And Jalen Carter, I mean, he owned it to his credit. He was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I screwed over my team. That was gross. Like, I shouldn't have spit on him. But Dak was like, Dak took the stance of like, I would never do that. That's absolutely terrible. But then you go back and you watch it and it's like, you're kind of a scumbag too. So
he was not doing anything bad, bro. I saw the clip and I'm like, this is everybody's making something out of nothing. They're just trying to stoke.
I agree. They wanted that. They wanted that back and forth. I think Eagles fans and any Eagles publications wanted there to be some justification for that because while it was happening, you're like, why on God's green earth would you do that? I do think, obviously, I don't think Jalen was going to go do that if Dak didn't spit in his direction first. So I think there has to be a little A and B on that because had he not spit in his direction talking shit, he wouldn't have come over and spit on him, not justifying it. But that's like, if from 10 yards away, I like raise my fist at you and then you come over and punch me in the face. Like, yes, I did raise my fist at you, but you actually came and punched me in the face. So I feel like that's the difference. I just can't believe you spent a whole off season getting ready and you don't even get to play the snap as your first game because you spit on somebody. That's just got to be, he's got so much like pent up sexual aggression right now. Jalen does that.
He's got to.
The next team he plays, I don't think he should be suspended. The next game is against the Chiefs. Like, could you imagine like
he might not play. He might not play. He could get suspended.
Actually, I changed my mind. I'm all on board with the suspension.
Interesting.
Now that I think about it,
I think he should play, but
I think he should play too.
Yeah,
but I guess we'll see. As far as the game was concerned, the Cowboys did lose this game 20-24. They seemingly really couldn't stop the run. Jalen Hurts ran for 62 yards and Saquon for another 60. Which is kind of interesting because Jerry Jones was, after all the Micah Parsons trading news, he said we need to focus more on stopping the run, and that clearly wasn't the focus for them in this game because that seems to be the only thing that was working for the Cowboys. And if you were to watch this game, Eagles didn't really throw the ball. I mean, A.J. Brown, notoriously a wide receiver one for the Eagles, a top-end wide receiver in the league, was a non-factor in this game. I think he caught one reception. So, I mean, from your guys's, and this is week one, so I don't want to overreact, but what is your guys's, after viewing this game, what's your thought process as far as what this Eagles team is going to look like?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Looks pretty good.
You look like you're ideating. You're ideating. I think the Eagles defense has a lot more holes than people anticipated. I know Jalen Carter was out, but that secondary looked quite lost against the Cowboys. And I don't think they were doing anything super spectacular necessarily. So like on the other side, the Eagles offense looks all worldly. They were toying with the Cowboys. They didn't really have to do anything crazy. It was just spread them out, try to find somebody open, dink and dunk. And then it was Hurts scrambling for yardage. So like, offense is good to go. I think even with AJ Brown not being a factor, that's actually like scary, I would say, for the rest of the NFL that they didn't even really have to use him and they were still just humming right along. So that is super scary for me. I think the game itself.
Does that, I want to ask you this question since you said that. Does that give you any sort of excitement about the Cowboys offense, or do you think that's more of a detriment to the Eagles defense?
That's the shit about these week one games is you don't know which is which yet until the season plays out. I would like to think that it's more the Cowboys offense being really good because the Eagles are quite talented. And so I'm almost wondering if we just saw two really good offenses going at each other. But again, you don't know until the season kind of progresses, but they look good. I mean, aside from a few CeeDee Lamb drops, we probably are talking about how great Dak was in a win. I think that's what the difference was in this game was just CeeDee Lamb unable to catch a ball, which leads the league in drops from, I forget what the year was, but like in the past few years, which is quite shocking. But that's what I took away.
He did stay late in practice a couple times after this had happened, and he was seen on the jugs machine, and he's like, "There's no room for that." Like, I mean, he did drop a couple balls that maybe most receivers we would make the excuse of, okay, that's a dropped ball. Like, I understand, but this is CeeDee Lamb we're talking about, and I think he recognizes he needs to be better in that way too because he is arguably one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and the fact that he was dropping some of those balls was not great.
I mean, you're paid to catch a ball. The fact that you're working on it's like kickers when they missed kick, like that's literally all you do. Like how
we could talk about Moody, man. I mean, the 49ers, golly,
how could you not do that? But that's what I took away from this. I mean, I think it just looked like two amazing offenses going at each other in week one. I mean, you don't want to overreact to too much, but they looked really good to start.
Well, let me tell you something about this game. My takeaway was every single fantasy team that I have has Dak Prescott, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. It's some combination of those three.
Picked a bad week to have all three of those on your team.
Holy fuck, dude. It was pathetic. I made maybe the worst fantasy decisions I've ever made in my entire life this week because I have in every one of my leagues, I've got 70 points on the bench. All of my starters did nothing.
It's week 1. At least they're on your bench and not on the waiver wire.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But still,
you have
feels
room
bad
to grow. You have room to grow.
That's what I'm hearing. But as somebody who's playing you week 1, I'm really happy that you left them.
You're welcome.
So thank you. Okay, let's talk about the kingdom crumbling, gentlemen. The Kansas City Chiefs. Tough start. And before we start this, I want to preface by stating something because what the Brainiacs are not privy to is the group chat that we have pre-recording. So I'd like to go ahead and state something very quickly. For the rest of this season, for the entire 2025 season, I will not be adding show notes about the Chiefs at all. So if you guys want to talk about the Chiefs, I will let you guys add the notes on there because I'm not. And if you notice, as we continue on in the show, I'm wearing an Arizona Cardinals hat. We're not going to be talking about the Arizona Cardinals, even though we did win. I didn't have them on there because it wasn't a game.
Talk about them though, because I don't know if you're going to be happy about that win or not.
I am happy about that win. It was against the Saints.
I mean, you're happy that you
and I don't like Kellen Moore, so I'm happy about that.
NFL, there is no. I'm okay. Win's a win. You move on.
But I got a lot of slander for simply adding notes. I took a lot of shots were fired against me for seemingly no reason.
Seemingly no reason. The headline is "The Chiefs' Kingdom Crumbles."
You lost. That seems like a really good title for a loss.
Lost many games over the course of our Super Bowl run. Does that mean we're crumbling?
It might be. We're going to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
That's really. I just wanted to preface by stating for the rest of the season, I will not be adding any Chiefs notes. I have thoughts, but I'm not going to add any on to the show notes. I'm going to leave that to you guys because apparently there's a lot of animosity towards simply adding stats and having conversation around it. So I'll leave that up to you. So you know what? I'm just going to turn the mic over to you guys. Go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
I love this.
You want it now, and you want me to take it?
Yeah, I'll start us off. One, yes, I love giving Slap shit about doing anything Chiefs related because I think it's super, super funny. Reactions to this game, there's a lot here. And I think Matt and I were watching this together, and we were kind of like, it's really hard one way or the other to like glean anything from a Brazil game. Everything's off schedule. It's in the weird part of the week. They're in a weird part of the world. You don't know what you're going to get from either team. And I've always think these overseas games are just weird in general. I think a lot of times, we've had the Bills losing overseas and then they come back and they're good to go. It's really hard to like glean a ton from this, but I think some of the things that you saw out of this game, which were quite concerning if you're a Chiefs fan, we'll start with the Chiefs side, was that it seemed to be a lot of the same shit that they've had in the past. You had mental mistakes, you had false starts, you had holds, you had Xavier Worthy getting knocked out of the game by Travis Kelce, just shit happening for the Chiefs that happened last year. And you're like, okay, how did nobody figure this shit out ahead of time? Like, what was everybody doing during the offseason where they just like, guys, let's just run that. Everything we did wrong, let's do that again going into this game. And I think the glaring thing here, and I'll hand it over to you, Scotty, and Slaps, you need to talk about this too, because I don't
really think I need to. I think you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. I'm so proud of both of you.
Let's have a lot of good takes. You have a lot of good takes on this. I would say the the biggest thing that people should take out of this game is how in control Herbert looked and how bad the Chiefs defense looked. Those are the two things that I took away from this game that I think we'll keep an eye on as the weeks click.
Yeah. So I have two versions of my story here because the first version is the reasonable observer, which is it's week 1. Both of these teams flew halfway across the world. This game doesn't really mean anything. It's not really indicative of any patterns. It's the first week. I mean, the first week can look like anything. So part of me is like, it's annoying. They looked pretty bad. Don't put too much stock into it. The Chiefs and many other teams throughout history have lost their week 1 and then gone on to, have a lot of success throughout the season. But the other side of me is obviously all the offensive shit is still there, as Alan said. Like, just if we didn't have Patrick Mahomes on this team would looked like it would be pathetic. Like, not just like kind of middle of the pack, like absolutely pathetic. Patrick Mahomes is the only reason that the Chiefs were even in this game at all, because they sucked at everything else. It was astounding. Besides maybe special teams, you can make an argument. But the biggest thing that I took away from it was also what Alan said. It was the defense. I think there's a lot of people out there who rightfully so are giving Justin Herbert his flowers, but if you go back and watch that game, as Chiefs fans, we watched every single snap. You could count on one hand the number of contested passes that Justin Herbert had. Like, yes, he got the job done, and that's good, but he did what you would expect an NFL quarterback to do in that situation, which is throw the ball relatively accurately to wide open receivers. The big story here is that the Chiefs went from a top 5 defense to whatever the fuck that was, and it was not just bad, but absolutely pathetic. I was sitting on the couch going, this is pretty much all of the defensive players are the same from last year. Couple here and there that have switched. That was like night and day, not even close to the same production on the defensive side of the ball as we saw through last season. And because the offensive issues still appear to be there, if you go back to last year when the Chiefs make the run to the Super Bowl, if we don't have that top 5 defense, we are nowhere close to that conversation. So they got to figure this out quickly right now.
Okay.
One thing I will note, because I think people will point to the offense, like what are they going to do on offense? And I think largely that's still because of the Chiefs' success previously. Like you're a victim of your own success. So everybody's looking for the 30 points per game and the 80-yard bombs. I will say after Worthy went down, it was kind of yo-yoing. The last 5 possessions, the Chiefs scored on all of them. And I think that is telling of them trying to figure something out with the weapons they do have. But it is the defense. I think if the Chiefs don't win the division this year or struggle all year long, I think you're just going to point to the defense as being the reason why.
It's just so crazy.
Perfect. Do we want to move on to our next game here?
I'm so mad you're not saying anything.
I just don't want to give any ammunition because
I love you.
I don't think you do.
Live here on all of these socials. I'm going to say I love you.
I don't think you do. If you want my honest opinion here, I think the Chargers looked good. I think the Chargers looked like a good, competent team out of week 1. And that's what we're all talking about here. It's week 1. So do we want to start writing narratives about these teams, or do we want to call these flukes? And that's the question for a lot of these teams. But I will say this Chiefs team is reminiscent of what we saw last year. And I'm kind of regurgitating some of the things you guys saw. If I was a Chiefs fan, I would have some concerns about this season because your offense, the fact that Jawan Taylor is still on the team absolutely astounds me. Every single penalty that was called, it was like Jawan Taylor. And I'm like, this seems exactly like last year. Also, it doesn't seem like you have to worry about defenses as far as your health. It seems like you have to worry about your own players because last year we lost Rashee Rice to Patrick Mahomes. This year we've potentially lost Xavier Worthy to a couple weeks due to Travis Kelce.
That happened 2 years in a row. It's crazy. I've said this before. I'm not a Chiefs fan, but it sucks. I want to see all of your wide receivers on the field, and maybe week 6 we actually will have that if Xavier Worthy's healthy and Rashee Rice isn't suspended. But your offense is concerning, and Patrick Mahomes did some incredible things that I mean, namely that comes to mind is him completely vertical, going on the ground, tossing it over 3 defenders for a completion it was a drive killer if he didn't get that off. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly. He is a magician and he does things that no other quarterback should do. And there have been memes that I've seen floating around that I think are absolutely hilarious. It's Jameis Winston Patrick Mahomes is just like Jameis Winston, except everything Patrick Mahomes does actually works. And I was like, that's kind of funny because it's kind of true in some ways. Like Jameis Winston does some crazy shit. It just never works. And it does with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this is the first time that the Chiefs have been at the bottom of the division. Granted, it's week 1 since 2021. Week 5 of 2021 was the last time the Chiefs were at the bottom of the division. And in a division that is heating up, and we've had conversations in the preseason and the offseason about this division, I'm a little concerned about the Chiefs. And, you hope that they get it figured out, but you talked about the defense, and that seems to be a big problem for you guys. And now the question for me is the Chiefs defense that bad? Or is the Chargers offense really starting to come into rhythm with year 2 under Harbaugh? Keenan Allen's come back, and Quentin Johnston came out of nowhere. I mean, he was somebody who a lot of people had kind of written off as, is he going to make the team after his rookie contract? It should be noted that Quentin Johnston also had 2 touchdowns in the season opener last year. And then we saw kind of how that played out. Again, it's week 1. Like, you just don't really know what's a pattern and what's not. Like, it's interesting.
You don't. But I mean, that's worth noting. I mean, Keenan Allen's back, and while he's older, he's got rapport with Herbert. He's no slouch. I think Lad McConkey owners for fantasy football are a little disappointed in the way that this shook out today, or I was going to say today on this game. And so, I mean, I don't have a lot of stock in this aside from if I was a Chiefs fan, I'm not worried, but I'm concerned, and I want to see some of these things get addressed, because to me the offense looks almost identical to what it did last year, and in a lot of those games you should have lost those games last year and you didn't, and now the question is, can you continue to do it again this season? And I don't know if you can.
That is exactly true, because this game was very similar to games last year, but the Chiefs found ways to win it, and it was largely with their defense, and their defense isn't bailing them out. So I think we're circling the issue around here. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how this thing plays out.
Maybe we got to wait till
we
week
have the
6.
refs on our side, and now Travis Kelce can get punched in the face and nothing happens.
That was pretty BS. That one, the fact that he didn't get ejected for that was, I mean, we're talking about spitting on players, and yet we can smash. Granted, they're wearing helmets, but we're wearing jerseys.
To me. That made no sense. They're like, oh, it was open hand, so it's okay. It's like, so you can just bitch slap everybody in the face, and that's
and if
totally
you listen
fine?
to the announcers in that game, even they were like, oh, I mean, that's exactly what they said. They're like, oh, so if it's open hand, you can do that. And they're like, well, and it's like, even they knew that this should have been a problem.
The funny thing is, okay, question for you on that one. Do you think the NFL is getting pressure because there's all of this hand wringing at the Chiefs seemingly getting all the calls, that now we're going to have this reorientation or like readjustment to like, all right, now they're just not going to get anything?
No, it's not even that. It's the individual refs, because obviously the narrative has been bullshit since the very beginning, but you know for a fact every single one of these refs for the last like 3 years, it's been in their head. Every time they throw a flag at a Chiefs game, they're like, God damn it, everyone's going to make a meme of me on the internet now.
Well, this ref in particular, Carl Cheffers and his crew, they have a history with the Chiefs. You know the meme where Travis is like doing this and ejaculating on the refs? That was Carl Cheffers' crew. And that was pre-Mahomes.
It sounds like Kelsey's the problem.
And Kelce very famously, after one of the games that Carl Cheffers reffed, said he looks like he should be working at Foot Locker, not reffing this game, and was fined, and then basically never said anything again. So Carl, I feel like in the back of his mind, definitely has this FU mentality towards the Chiefs anyways, which is why when he was named officiating this game, all the Chiefs fans are like, great, we're not getting anything, because he very famously slants the other way because he absolutely hates the Chiefs, which is hilarious to me. So
it sounds like he needs to officiate every game, and then it'll be net neutral for the Chiefs. Is kind of what I'm hearing.
And everybody will still find a way to bitch about something.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you guys are sitting here bitching about an open hand slap, so no matter what, there's going to be bitching no matter what party you're part of, whether it's pro Chiefs or anti-Chiefs.
A missed hold or an incomplete pass is way different than an open hand.
Somebody's wide against punching somebody in the face.
Way different.
I agree.
One is funnier to watch for sure.
True. Actually, seeing him getting bitched, he took that pretty. I'm surprised he didn't do something crazy as crazy as Travis and unhinged as he can be sometimes. I mean, just absolutely.
He took it on the chin and then was like,
it is honestly there is something that's very funny about watching somebody do something illegal, like Dak getting spit on or Travis getting bitch slapped. And it's like, these are giant grown men that you'd expect to be like, oh, you hit me, and like ready to fight, but then they immediately just throw their hands up and look at the refs like, mom, what the fuck? Like, hey, you don't expect someone of this size
but
to react like that.
You should do that because you're looking for a way to help your team. So and obviously the people who do react like, oh, I'm going to fuck you up, that's usually the second guy always gets caught. I mean, we just said that earlier. So anything else as far as Chiefs Kingdom we want to unpack here today, gentlemen?
Nope. We'll just figure out what's happening with Xavier.
I'm very scared of week 2.
Day to day. All right, the Bengals, they squeeze out a Brown one here. They beat the Browns 17-16. This was a lot closer of a game than I think a lot of people anticipated. I am a betting man, and I stayed away from this game because the Bengals notoriously start off very slow. And, you know, everybody has the Browns pegged as one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Bengals, they got it done, which was huge for them because last year, I think they went 0-4, 0-5, and it ended up costing them a playoff berth. It's good for them to get a win, but their offense did not look great. I mean, they had 141 total yards of offense, the second lowest in a victory in franchise history. Not a great look for the Bengals. And, you know, the Browns, Joe Flacco commanding them, looked fine. I'm not going to sit here and say he looked great, but is there anything that you guys saw out of this game that you wanted to touch on?
I thought it was funny.
Damn it. We always do this.
We did it again. Maybe
you
we should
go first this time. You go first
we're
this
done.
time.
All I was going to say was I thought it was very funny watching. I don't remember who was announcing this game, but the game ended and they said, yeah, not a slow start for the Bengals this year. And it's like, okay, well, they beat the Browns by 1 point in a game that they looked like they were going to lose the entire time. So I don't know about all that. The offense definitely, for whatever reason, just takes so long to get on track. But at this point, it's sort of like as long as they can sort of sneak through with these wins, they'll be fine because we don't know what the offense is going to turn into, right? And so we have no reason to really be concerned. If there's a W in the column, it's like, all right. Well, by week 5, this is going to be the best offense in football. So,
does it make you more concerned about seeing a repeat of last year, where we all have the Browns, I think, pegged as the worst team in the NFL, or at least they're certainly in that conversation, and the fact that they let the Browns get 16 points on their defense, are we going to see the same thing as we did last year of just a terrible defense that needs to be carried by their offense? Is that kind of what you're taking away from this?
I think the concerning thing, the Browns were able to move the ball in certain instances and they had opportunities. I think if they were playing a better offense, that would have been more points for them. The flip side of that is I think the Browns still have a very good defense, underrated in some respects. And I think it's just because of how bad their offense can be that, it shadows the whole team. So I think if you're the Bengals, if you're a fan of the Bengals, you're in for the same thing you had last year. The offense has to score. Can they do it at that clip again? You just don't know. Like consistency and being able to do something year over year. Like we take it for granted as fans as like, oh, they're just going to do that again. Or, oh, they'll just be the same. You just don't know. You don't know if somebody's a half step off or somebody's hurt or the defenses are getting better. There's more tape. They know what they want to do. You have no idea. And I think this is the thing for the Bengals that's concerning is that you have so much cap space tied up with like 3 players, 4 players if you throw Higgins in there, where you're like, man, we have so many glaring holes on this team that it's great that we have our quarterback and it's great that we have some of these weapons, but like sustained success and being able to win games late in the season and in the playoffs, like you need a total team. It's not going to just be this 7-on-7 drill, which is what everybody thinks the NFL is sometimes, where it's just Joe's going to go back there and chuck it 50 million times and it's going to be okay. It's like, that's not necessarily how you win games in the NFL. So it's concerning.
It was last year for them.
Yeah. But as an NFL, I'm going to say this, you don't apologize for the wins. There is no, you barely beat them. It's the NFL. These are all professionals and you take the win and move on. And so if I'm a Bengals fan, sure, things are concerning, but you saw last year how hard those wins were to come by. So you just take it and move on.
Yeah. A team that didn't get the win was the Lions, who, Scotty, you have been very high on this entire offseason. And, this was kind of it was a disappointing start for Lions fans, for anybody who had the Lions as a contender for the bowl this year. Not a great start for them. 27-13 was the game here. And, I think this result came as a surprise to many, kind of myself included in there. But watching this game, I think there were 2 things that stood out to me. And I think it's the old adage of 2 things can be true at once. The Lions' offensive line looked terrible. Jared Goff had no time to develop his routes downfield, to make his reads. And on the flip side of that, the Packers' defense and their defensive line looked absolutely dominant. And so, for me, I'm not hitting the panic button as a pseudo Lions fan that you guys like to call me here, but I am concerned, and it's week 1, so I don't know, is the Packers defensive line just that good with Micah Parsons now? The Packers defense in general looked absolutely electric, and the Lions offense looked stagnant. And a lot of people are going to point at the Ben Johnson leaving. I don't know if I'm buying that stock fully, but I'm curious as to your guys' thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that we have to take away is whenever there is a matchup between 2 teams in the NFC North, you can't be surprised no matter the outcome, because any one of these teams, all of these teams are so good and have so much talent that if they get a hot night, like you are just any one of these teams could put up 50 points, and it doesn't matter which other one they're playing. I mean, anything can happen. So watching this game, everyone's like, oh, the Lions suck. The Lions suck. It's any given Sunday with all 4 of these teams that the Lions could show up and play a replay of this game tomorrow and put up 60 points because their team is just so talented. It can happen. So I'm not really surprised. It's sort of like what the mentality you go into week 1 with, like, oh, you can't take too much away. We don't know what's a pattern and what's an anomaly. That should be the mentality for every NFC North game for the entire season. Like, you have just no idea how it's going to pan out. A couple things go right, a couple things go wrong, a couple players are a little under the weather, whatever, and that can make all the difference because all of these teams are so close. And yes, I've been high on the Lions, but I've also said that this is the toughest division in the NFL, and any one of these teams is capable of winning. I still think the Lions are the best overall team in the division. I still think they're going to win the division, but yeah, the Packers looked freaking good. They looked really, really good. No doubt about it.
You disagree, Alan?
I do. I think the Packers, and I know I've said this previously, I think they are the best team in this division. I think they're one of the best. I think they might be one or two best teams in the NFC in general. I think they are sneaky good at every level. They have talent all over the place. And if Love is playing with that amount of confidence, it's going to be really, really, really hard to take the Packers down at any moment. You take how they played against the Lions and you put that up against other NFC teams that we saw, like, how would this translate to the Cowboys? How would this translate to the Eagles? How would this translate to maybe the Commanders? How would this translate, the Rams? Like, you just put it around, you're like, wow, I feel much more confident in what the Packers have. And this is only week one. And, the defense is still going to gel with Micah Parsons. I think if I'm a defender on that team, if I'm a corner and Micah Parsons is in there rushing the passer while I have to go and cover, that's akin to like us getting put on a team with LeBron James and we're going to go play a pickup game at the Y. We're like, wow, we are just going to crush these dudes. I don't have to do a ton. I just have to do my job and the rest will take care of itself. And I think for this Packers defense, that's kind of what you're getting with Micah Parsons being there, is they're now like, oh shit, okay, cool. Like, he's going to get there. We're going to get home on a lot of these pressures and it's only going to get better. I don't have to do anything crazy. I just kind of got to know my cues and stay with it. Like, I don't have to go make crazy plays. But the thing is, this is what I said about Dallas when they got rid of Parsons, is that you're paying your secondary players a lot of money. But the main reason those those cornerbacks and those safeties were able to make plays like that was because of the pressure that Parsons was able to get, because of what he was able to inflict on those quarterbacks. And as a quarterback, your mental psyche getting ready to throw that ball when he's going to be bearing down on you that's terrifying. And you're going to make bad plays in those corners. And you saw the Packers corners doing the same. So I think the Packers, we try not to overreact, but this is like, okay, hang on. They didn't just beat the Lions. There wasn't like they won by field goal. Like, they just beat the shit out of the Lions. And that was not even close. There was no like redeeming part of that game where you're like, well, if the Lions just did more of this, they were going to win. I think that was the most shocking thing to me watching that game unfold.
The Lions needed to protect their quarterback, and that clearly didn't happen in this game. I had the Packers finishing, before the Micah Parsons trade, I had the Packers finishing at the bottom of the division, and after the Micah trade, I still tend to believe the Lions will figure it out. I do think the Lions, I still have them leading, but I have the Packers right behind them. And, this game tonight, which we'll unpack a little bit later, is going to really, I think, give us a little bit of clarity as far as how we feel about these other two teams in the North. So we'll touch on that. But, also not only the defensive side, the offense looked similar for the Packers this year, or in this game in particular. And it doesn't look super explosive, but it looks consistent. And that's what I took away from this, is the offense hasn't changed a whole lot. I wanted to see, is Matthew Golden, are they going to really showcase him and scheme him to get used? They did a little bit, but nothing out of the realm of ordinary for what they do for their wide receivers. So I'm curious to see, are we going to see some steps forward and see this offense really have that explode factor? Because I didn't see that in this game. Yeah. And the Lions defense is also very good. So that also could play a component as to why maybe we didn't see that. The offense still, it really, to me, it was the defense is the star of this team, and the offense is capable, but they don't have that it factor that I have seen with some other teams, I guess.
100%. Well, and that's exactly the reason why I think the Lions are the best team in this division, because when you compare them, just the offensive side, the thing the Packers are missing is that alpha wide receiver who changes the way defenses have to scheme against that offense. Because right now it's like, yeah, they got some talent, like they can make some things happen, but there's no one person in particular that you're coming in and being like, if we don't cover that guy, we're going to lose the game. And you look at the Lions, or even you look at pretty much any other team in the division, you have that person. So as the offenses gel and as they get more comfortable, you're going to see all of the offenses excel, except I'm worried that the Packers might not as much. But again, if their defense is going to come out and look like that, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Defense wins championships, I think, is the old adage. Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the game tonight. We'll cover that here in just a little bit, but there's another game I really want to touch on, and this is the Daniel Jones reunion tour, baby.
Love this.
He came out and just dominated. I mean, this was this was surprising to me. As somebody who had the Dolphins as kind of a middling of the pack team, I have a lot of concerns with the Dolphins. This very well could be the worst team in the NFL this year, and I don't think that's crazy to say.
Insane.
Well, it is now to think about that, because prior to this game, we had the Dolphins as kind of a middling of the pack team, and now I'm kind of reevaluating, and I don't want to overreact in week one, but I think this is a certain instance where I'm not overreacting. I'm reading the tea leaves here, and I think it kind of showcases that. I mean, I'll start out with this. Mike McDaniels, his seat has to be getting quite warm. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that shit's on fire.
Okay. He's got to be number one on the list.
What is if you were evaluating McDaniels, like the three of us come in as like a consulting firm, and we're like, all right, what is McDaniels, like, what is his crowning jewel of his tenure here with the Dolphins? Like, what can you hang your hat on and be like, this is what he's done for us? Anything?
He's instilled confidence in Tua.
He has overseen the creation of many Tyreek Hill spawns.
Yeah,
maybe indirectly, but he was there for them all.
He is probably a godfather to a few of those
like three
children. That I the only thing I can think of, and I was thinking, because I wanted to pose this question while we had this, was honestly when they blew out the Broncos and scored like 70 points. Like that might be the only thing that he's done in his tenure, and that was just a regular season game where you're like, wow, what a coach. Other than that, anytime he is up against like talent or somebody that is up in the division, he crumbles. Like there is no game plan, there is no adjustment, there is nothing. And now you're going on the road to a Colts team who people are like, they're trying to figure things out. They weren't even sure who their starting quarterback's going to be. And then you just get absolutely demolished. That's insane to me. That seat has to be on freaking fire.
I mean, number one, like highest on the list as far as potential firings for coaches right now. I mean, is that where your mind goes?
Yeah. I don't know if you can put anybody else on there right now.
Yeah, for sure. And the problem, of course, in Miami is Tua. I mean, at least in part. But we all said, and everybody said, I mean, everyone was kind of on the same page when they signed Tua to that deal. It's like, oh, I don't know. It was almost just like kind of cringy. Like, yeah, Tua's made some good plays, but like, really?
He looked terrible.
Yeah.
He looked absolutely terrible.
And honestly, I think the problems, because I know that Vegas actually had Miami losing this game, and everyone looking at that was like, really? Like, they're really going to lose this game to Daniel Jones? And
we did.
I really think that there's more to the story here. That's what's going on in the locker room there. It almost seems like the entirety of the team is like ready to bail. Like the whole, everybody knows that the house is on fire and they want to just get out down the fire escape and never look back. It feels like just the whole thing. You want to talk about a kingdom crumbling? It was never a kingdom, but this place is crumbling.
Yeah, sure. The ceiling's come out. There's already rumors of Tyreek going back to Kansas City. There have
been a lot of chatter of
hey, are they just going to bring him back? And it's like, with the cap space, I don't think it's possible. But I mean, that's where you're at with this team, where it's like your best weapons are now up for trade rumors. Like that's it.
Well, and let's not gloss over. Tyreek was not named a captain, and he had been years past. And I think that's probably due to a lot of the antics that he had, as far as him coming out at the end of last season saying, "I don't want to be here. This place is shit." And then he kind of had been very vocal about that, and the Dolphins were like, hey, we're not trading you, like, you're going to be around here. And he's kind of went back on some of that and been like, I just need to be a better locker room presence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and the tweet I saw today was that it's been exactly one calendar year since Tyreek Hill has had a reception over 30 yards.
Jeez.
That sucks.
That's crazy. You think about how he is. And I know we got Yeti commenting on here, but I was saving this stat. I didn't put it in the notes, but Daniel Jones is the first quarterback to record 2+ rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, and 0 INTs in his first start with a new franchise since Daniel Jones, who did it with the Giants in September of 2019. So it's a true Daniel Jones stat that he is the first since himself to do this stat line in his debut. So
did you see the I don't know if you guys were watching Red Zone, but Scott Hansen was talking about this during this game, where he said that Daniel Jones might be the only quarterback since like 1991 to lead his team to 7 straight scoring drives without having a drive that failed. like ever in the NFL, like all things considered, which is ridiculous. Scott Hanson, I don't know if that's true, but Scott Hanson kept saying it over and over again. Wild.
Is Daniel Jones like those girls where like they're really good on first dates and like first impressions? You're like, oh, I might marry this person. Like this person's amazing, and then you realize like the Giants did, where he has like some fatal flaw where like he doesn't shower or it's like a huge floozy or something. You're
doesn't
like,
pick up after himself, and his house is a mess.
I actually can't live with this because it almost seems like Colts fans might be like, wait a second. Maybe there's something to. Maybe we should marry him.
Well, okay, let's dissect this a little bit because Daniel Jones, he looked good. Like there's no arguing. Daniel Jones looked like a competent quarterback in this system. But reports were saying, and whether it's true or not, but I'd seen a lot of chatter coming around saying that Daniel Jones was always going to be the starting quarterback for them this season. And, that was kind of like behind closed doors. That was the conversation that was being had. Maybe to the public, it was a quarterback battle. I think there might be some truth to that. And I don't know, we're not going to know this, or we're fingers crossed it comes to light via media, but like, think about it. You have Anthony Richardson, who's been piss poor as a quarterback. He's not been good for them. You want to try and drive him and make him find some passion and make him find a reason to actually push for this. So you come out to both of them and say, this is a competition. We want to see who puts the best out there. Daniel Jones won that. And so now Anthony Richardson is sitting on the bench. He has not requested a trade, which was kind of shocking for some people because I think a lot of people were like, okay, why is he not requested a trade? He had conversations with the Colts general manager, and he had even come out and said, I think there's, a lot of opportunity for me here, and I just need to do my best in my current role, and I need to learn from this. I think, and this is a week one overreaction, so I completely understand that, but I think there's a chance Daniel Jones could sign a 2 or 3 year deal with them and continue to be their guy, and that is a week one overreaction. But you also look at what Daniel Jones has as weapons. He never had these kind of weapons when he was with the Giants, ever. He had Saquon Barkley, and now he's got Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce. They signed Tyler Warren. You have Jonathan Taylor. And yes, Saquon Barkley is on a level of his own, but he hasn't had a lot of weapons around him to make elevate him and allow him to succeed at a level that a lot of Giants fans had hoped he would. The Colts are a little bit different of a situation, and if week one is any indicator, he's on a good trajectory.
Yeah, this is exactly why this case here with Daniel Jones, week one with the Colts, and this happening to the Dolphins is why I'm always in the camp of, if you are not 100% sold on your quarterback, do not pay him. Move on. Find somebody else, because you can make it work if you have talent to go out. Because what you have right now is you have like 53, I think it's like a little over 53 per year that the Dolphins have tied up with Tua. And you look at what the Colts are doing with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, and it's like a couple $20 bills and a stick of gum, and they came out and put one on you with that salary. And it just, I think this is when we go back, because you had mentioned when they signed Tua, it's like, and everybody's like, oh, who else are you going to get? Who else are you going to get? It's like, that's actually not the problem we're solving here. The problem is your salary cap. And if you're not sold on it, you are hosed. And I think that's is where the Dolphins are now trending, is now you're hosed, because now you got to see this thing out or just have like a bunch of dead cap. And I think if you're the Colts fan, that's what's encouraging. Like, okay, wait, this can actually happen. And even if it's Daniel Jones or not, which I think if the Giants fans heard that, it'd almost be like that Interstellar meme where he's like shouting at him from the past. Like, he's like, no. Yeah. Like, that's probably what's going to unfold. But I think if you're a Colts fan, you're like, wait, okay, maybe it's not Daniel Jones in the future, but we know this does actually work with somebody. And can we get somebody better? And because you're not tied up in salary cap hell, it actually affords you many options and opportunities. And that's what I think is very attractive for the Colts.
Do you think a lot of NFL teams would rather go for the kill shot than, a winning record? And what I mean by that is, do you think Daniel Jones could take this Colts team to a Super Bowl ever? Do you think he's at that level of play? No. So, and I agree with you. But do you think that maybe they could make a wild card berth if this week one is any indicator? You both are nodding your head yes. And so do you think a lot of teams would rather go for that kill shot where they're like, let's just sign the guy that we believe in versus the talent that they offer? And that's where some of these teams find themselves in a Tua-esque situation where it's like, we believe in this guy, he can do it. But now you're stuck with him. You don't have any other options.
I think if you're a GM in the NFL or like any sports franchise, the seat gets quite warm if you're not performing. I would always go for, hey, let's build this thing right. Like, let's get this team going in the right direction with like the right foundation, because you never know what's going to happen in the free agent market or what's going to happen to a quarterback or who might become available. And you like always want to have your options open.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, it's always good
unless
to
you
keep
have your
options
franchise
open.
guy.
Yes, unless you have your guy. Unless you have your Josh Allen, you have your Joe Burrow or Lamar, like you're locked in. Like you are always going to want to make sure that you have your options open, because you never know what's going to happen, or where the quarterback's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go try to find a team now. And you're like, well, look at all of this talent and cap space we already have, and we can actually sign a few more guys if you want to come here. And it's like, that's what you want. You want to,
sure.
You're kind of fishing for a while, because I don't think Daniel Jones is it, but if he can give you this level and elevate the team around you and make everybody happy, like you play that game until you're ready to make the switch. It's like,
well, let's continue to push that narrative further. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's another guy that kind of came to mind when we're talking about Tua in the contract that he is now locked into. I had that same thought with Trevor Lawrence. I was like, what has this guy done aside from one playoff run that kind of fizzled out? And then we've seen nothing since then. Obviously, the Jaguars get it done. They 26-10 against the Panthers. There were a couple things that I took away from this game. First and foremost, Trevor Lawrence, I'm still not sold on him. I'm still not bought into Trevor Lawrence. He's a game-winning NFL, top 10 quarterback. That's what he's getting paid, but I don't think he should be. And so, there were a couple things I was looking for in this game specifically. First and foremost, Bryce Young. Bryce Young at the second half of last year, he was benched. The Red Rocket came out. They went back to Bryce Young, and Bryce Young looked like a completely different quarterback than we'd seen throughout his entire tenure with the Panthers previously. So they they draft Tedoroa McMillan. Bryce Young, is he going to take those steps forward? Is he going to continue that level of play that we saw in the second half of last year? I was crossing my fingers. I was optimistic. And then we come into this game here, and I was like, what is this? This is the old Bryce Young. This is the Bryce Young that we have all known, and we were hoping he was going to take those steps forward. I didn't see it. It didn't look great. It was a poor production from him. It was a poor production from this Panthers team. And then the other thing, of course, that I wanted to kind of look at when I'm watching this game is, what is Travis Hunter doing? He is the prodigal son that's going to come in and save this Jaguars franchise. Is he going to be able to do that? He looked okay, but I'm not going to sit here and say he looked like Malik Neighbors or a top end wide receiver. He played a couple snaps on defense, but I'm not surprised that the Jags won this game, but I am disappointed in the level of play from Bryce Young here.
Well, again, it's week 1, so Bryce Young might come out next week and look just as good as he did at the end of last season. But this is kind of what I've been predicting throughout this offseason that might happen to Bryce Young is what we've seen from him. The only consistent part of his career so far in the NFL, though it's short, is when the expectations are high, he crumbles. When the expectations are low, he looks pretty good. And the expectations starting out this season started out pretty high. And so you just kind of don't really know what to expect from him. And now that everyone's like, oh, look, he's going to be great. He's going to elevate this team. It just didn't seem like the blocks were fitting together right. And the other thing we have to remind ourselves, we've seen so many times now where star quarterbacks come in and they just completely flip a franchise over, like Jaden Daniels. It takes a very special player to do that successfully. And unless you are like a top tier player at the quarterback position, you can't have too high of expectations when you are entering into a team that just doesn't have a lot of weapons. And yeah, they got Tet. Okay, that's moving in the right direction. But this is a team that sold all of their assets. I mean, they just didn't have anybody on the team. So expecting Bryce Young to come out and just be like the savior of the organization, like he has to be phenomenal for that to happen. And the bar is just too high, I think.
Yeah. I think this game all the way around, I think from a Jags perspective, this was about ETN. He's averaging 9 yards a carry. He was going off. And so this was less about Trevor Lawrence actually playing well. He just happened to be on the winning team, I think is how that translates.
Agreed.
And I think from the Bryce Young perspective, the one thing that stood out to me, like going over this game, is how he was affecting the game with his legs. And he was actually moving around and running the ball. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something there. I think the Panthers just have a lot of holes in general to like rectify for them to be at that level. And I just don't know if they have enough, like you said, for Bryce. Like they brought Hunter Renfrow in, but like, is that going to be enough with Tet? Like you just kind of got like mismatching pieces. And so very concerned for the Panthers, but I think they have room to grow. And I think they have some excuses as to why. I think for Trevor, it's slightly interesting because if you go back and look at the stats, they actually targeted Hunter the most. He actually had some of the most targets, but didn't have as much of the production. So I don't know how that's going to translate moving forward, or if they saw something they liked, or that's opening it up for other people. But it'll be interesting to see how Trevor does with this, because this is, I mean, we're kind of, like you said, Slaps, we're trending with him. Like, we kind of know now. It's just, this game they just won because they were able to just run it down their throats. Not necessarily.
And you mentioned Trevor Etienne, and that was, I'd like to give myself a little bit of flowers on this game because a lot of people were giving me a lot of hate about Brian Thomas Jr. and the fact that I wasn't super high on him. And this is week 1, so this could change quickly. But it was almost validation for me as far as there is an opportunity for his target share to go down. And if week 1's any indicator, that's the case. I mean, Travis Hunter, he led the team as far as targets and receptions. And, Brian Thomas Jr. had 1 less target, so it's not a, monumental shift. But also, Brian Thomas Jr. had his breakout without Trevor Lawrence. And so all of those things are kind of a conglomeration that made me say, like, I don't know if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to find the same level of success. I'm a little nervous. And this game was kind of an indication of that. Travis Hunter, he was 6 for 8 for 33 yards, which you would hope are a lot more yards if you're catching 6 passes. But it's just, I'm still not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's the talent that a lot of Jaguars fans were hoping he would be. But Travis Etienne, he has, if this game's any indicator, his resurgence is here. I mean, you just mentioned he had 9 yards a carry. He looked great compared to last year when he was a non-factor, and we were talking about him potentially not even being on the team to start the season. So I think, if anything, you can feel more comfortable about Travis Etienne moving forward, but I'm still not sold on Trevor Lawrence. So let's pivot over. Let's talk about the Raiders. They got it. The Raiders. The Pete Carroll era in Vegas has officially started with a win on the road against the Patriots. I said this before the season started. This Raiders offense is going to look different. I think it's going to look a lot better. And I think if week 1 is any indicator, it does. And there are a lot of different pieces on this offense than last year. Namely, Pete Carroll is now the head coach. He brought over Geno Smith. They have Ashton Genty. All these things are kind of a conglomeration to make you get a little bit more bought into what this offense is doing. And, as a rival of your guys's, what did you take away from this game?
They can't run the ball, which could be concerning later in the season.
It's crazy, crazy to think about that.
I think Bauer's injury is something to keep an eye on. That could linger. That could hurt this offense as they move forward.
I will say on the Bowers injury, there was reports today that Bowers had actually wanted to come back into the game. It looked like a strained calf or something. He was ready to go, and they said, hey, don't worry about it.
Careful about them strained calves.
I'm just saying what the reports are saying. I wasn't there.
That turns into an Achilles pop in a hurry as soon as you start playing with those.
That's probably why they didn't want him to play.
Yeah, I think the Raiders look good. I think going onto the road and seeing how they played, the amount of times that they were having Geno throw the ball and how consistent and accurate he was good. Like, if I'm a Raiders fan, it's like, okay, now we have something. The flip side of that is, I wouldn't say the Patriots were in an offensive juggernaut mode, and they gave up a ton of yards and a ton of first downs to this Patriots team. So you're like, okay, wait a second. But that's kind of what we thought, right? Like, Raiders defense was going to trail the offense. The offense is going to have to score a lot. I would be concerned for the Raiders once they start having to play teams that may key in on, now Geno's going to throw it a bunch and they're not able to run the ball. Like, I could see them stalling out a lot.
Do you think that might allow them to run the ball a little bit more?
I mean, obviously the game script could have it go that way. They could have been keying in on Genty, but this is what we said. Like, they may just have Geno throw it, and like, are you going to trust Geno to throw it 30 times a game for 18 weeks? Yes or no? And we'll see if he plays like that, or if they put him in those positions, sure. But I think that's just too many throws for him. I think you want to get Genty involved to just eat away. Like, that is your bread and butter, and they got to figure that out. I think if they're going to have sustained success through this season, they need to get Genty running.
What about Mike Vrabel? Did you have something on the Raiders there, Scotty?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just going to echo what he said pretty much, which is the offense looked a lot better, but it better look a lot better because, like, it's first of all being compared to not a lot, and second of all, they added so many new pieces that the hype was there, and it's like, yeah, this team better look a whole lot different on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense is going to be the big problem going forward. I know Yeti here, he's a Raiders fan, he says the offensive line is rough, which, may be true, and that may be why Genty's having a little bit of trouble getting started, but to me, the big concern here is the defense. I mean, this defense I still think has potential to be the worst defense in football this season.
Well, and looking at the other side of the ball here, Mike Vrabel, new head coach for the Patriots, Drake May, year 2 quarterback, a lot of optimism around him and what he was able to do last year. Will that translate into this year? Obviously, a win's a win. We're not going to sit here and apologize for that, but you look at this Patriots team and you look at, the offensive side of the ball, they were still able to put up 13 points against the Raiders. And so when the competition gets a little bit thicker and the Raiders have to play somebody like the Chargers who have a more high-powered offense, does that game script look a lot different then is the question that comes to mind.
Yeah, if I'm the Patriots and we just said what we said about the Raiders and you were only able to muster 13 points, I kind of wish we had a little bit more. They were able to move the ball, which is fine. They weren't very efficient throwing the ball. They were kind of scattered. There was a lot of penalties in this game as well, which is what you kind of expect from a week 1 game is there's just like a lot happening out there. I don't know. It's hard to take away a lot from this game overall because I think the Raiders are more talented and they're trying to put it together. But I do think the Patriots are going to have like a very, very steep uphill battle this year trying to score and put things together. They just lack the firepower on the outside. I think Travion Henderson could be a welcomed addition to this team once he gets lathered up because he can score from anywhere. But this is almost like the Genty situation where you have like people are just going to start keying in on that. And then it's, now you really got to have some of these guys that are almost no-name commodities come in and try to make plays for the Patriots. So again, it's the NFL. You take your wins and you move on. That's what I was saying for the Raiders to go on the road and win a game like this against the Patriots where it was a little bit back and forth there for a bit that's a great way to start off any coaching journey or having a team kick off a season. It's just go on the road and getting a W. So
100%. And honestly, they should feel good. Raiders fans should feel good because the Patriots are a team that, they're still figuring it out, but everybody, like you guys said, is optimistic about this team. And to come in and to go on the road and get the win, like that's big. And that shows a lot of progress, which is obviously very good. Oh, did we lose Hunter?
Might have lost him.
Oh, I thought he was just being really quiet, patiently waiting for you to
we'll see. I think Yeti will take it. I think anytime you get in the season with a win and you're celebrating, you're good to go. You're good to go. There's no issues. Welcome back, Slaps.
Thank you.
Problem with going live.
God,
let's talk. You know what? While you're gone, I think it's time we pivot over to our boy Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers
with the discount double checking in now with the Steelers. This game was, if it wasn't for what we experienced last night, I almost would have nominated this as game of the year just because of how back and forth it was. But this game had it all as well. But mainly, we had Rodgers returning to MetLife Stadium against the Jets. Slaps, what were you thinking through this? Were you shocked? Were you excited? Like, did Aaron Rodgers make you feel something in your loins? Like, what was happening?
Look, I don't think we're a LeatherBrainz podcast if we're not talking about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that just seems to be the narrative. Like, we're LeatherBrainz. We have to talk about Aaron Rodgers. This game was exciting. I was watching this game and the entire time I couldn't stop thinking about Scotty. Admittedly, I was thinking about him most of this game. I wasn't thinking about Aaron Rodgers as much as maybe one would think. I mean, this was a back and forth game, and it was a nail biter. We obviously know the history of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and kind of what is all unfolded there, and what this game probably meant to Rodgers, and he kind of even touched on it after he won this game, and he goes, "I'm just happy I beat this organization," right? And it was kind of a middle finger to the Jets in general. But I'm this is week 1. And that's really the question that I struggle with is Scotty has been really high on Justin Fields, and he's going to look like the best version of himself since he's been in the NFL. And to Scotty's credit, if game 1 is any indication, he didn't look bad. I mean, he was 16 for 22, 218 yards, only threw a touchdown, rushed for another 48. But he looked usable. He looked like a decent quarterback. And I'm still trying to figure out, because we know notoriously the Steelers have a really good defense. That has been the mantra and the core of what the Steelers organization has been for years. So for the Jets to come in with Justin Fields, who I have not been high on and did not think would produce, to come in a 34-32 nail-biting loss, that's really the takeaway that I took from this game is Justin Fields didn't look terrible. He looked usable against what we historically know is a formidable defense. So if there was anything I took away from this game, it was Justin Fields looked good, and Breece Hall, there's been a lot of concern with him. Is he going to be their guy? Aaron Glenn has talked about this backfield being a 3-headed backfield, and Breece Hall is going to be rotational. He's potentially on the trade block, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Breece Hall, he had 19 carries versus, Allen's and Davis's 6 and 2 respectively. So if it's any indication, when it comes crunch time, it's still Breece Hall's backfield. And those were the two biggest takeaways that I took from this. If you look at the other side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers, we obviously knew DK Metcalf was going to be his guy, and he certainly showed that. So I'm not really reading the tea leaves here. The offense looked usable. The offensive line protected Rodgers, which I think was, at his age and his play style. Yeah. That's really the keys to finding success is protect him, give him a little bit of time, let him run his offense. And they did that. So I'm not really writing, do I think the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders? No. Do I think they're, playoff contenders are going to make the playoffs? Probably, because they usually do with lesser of a quarterback play. That's what I took away from this game. And what about you guys?
Yeah, for me, it was a couple things stood out. One, yes, Justin Fields looked good. And if it wasn't for one late on that last possession where Jalen Ramsey absolutely just laid the wood on Garrett Wilson, we might be talking about Justin Fields leading a game-winning field goal drive to end that, which was, which is why you pay those kind of players to make those kind of plays. So I do agree with you. I don't think Justin Fields did anything to hurt the team. And I think he used his legs when needed. I think he threw when needed. I thought it was very telling, even on that last play where it did get jarred loose, that he was actually willing to throw the ball and get it downfield, even while he may have had a lane to run, where in the past he just probably would have tucked it. And who knows what's going to happen. The one takeaway I have from this, because it is really hard. There's a lot of emotion in this game. You have two teams working in new quarterbacks. This is kind of what you thought would happen. It's just going to be a lot of back and forth.
In a flip-flop, by the way. I mean, Justin Fields being with the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
True. They just did a little swapski. I thought Metcalf looked good. I was wondering how he was going to show up, and he only had 4 receptions, but I was wondering if he was still going to be making the plays that he was making in Seattle. And I wasn't sure how that was going to translate to this offense or what this offense was going to allow him to do. Again, week 1, we're just going to keep saying, we should just call this please don't overreact to anything week 1. But I think it's especially from a fantasy perspective, you weren't sure what you were going to get from him. He's a household name. He's a freak athlete. But I think if he continues to develop this relationship with Rodgers and he continues to get those spots and Rodgers gets him the ball, that could be what a total changing of how the Steelers team operates, and I think probably a welcome change for those fans.
Yeah, I think it's too early to do my victory lap about Justin Fields, but I'm really tempted because he came out, and here's the first thing that I noticed about this game is not only did Justin Fields play well, but he looked good. He looked bulky.
He looked composed.
He looked like a freaking athlete, and obviously we know he is, but he looked confident. He looked composed. And it was great. And this game is a microcosm of what I expect out of Justin Fields for the season, where it's he's playing pretty good. You could sort of leave the game saying, yeah, that was pretty good, but they lose. And I think that's going to happen to them a lot this year. And unfortunately, it's going to be a team that's just going to go through some highs and lows and probably miss the playoffs and not really be a serious team and have to make some moves. But I think Justin Fields is going to look a lot better than Aaron Rodgers did for the Jets.
Mm-hmm. I tend to agree with you there, and I think part of it is just the play style too. I was talking about Aaron Rodgers and protecting him, and that seemed to be something the Jets didn't put enough focus on, is giving him time and letting him run his offense. There were a lot of things that probably went wrong there, but that was one thing that I noticed immediately from the Steelers is protect Aaron Rodgers at all costs and let him run his offense. And so I think all to say, I think this was a win for both teams. Flipping the quarterbacks, swapping them over, letting them play against each other week 1 is great for the narrative, but I think it also makes sense, in retrospect to say, yeah, that them swapping teams here actually made a lot of sense. So, there's another quarterback that swapped teams, and that being Russell Wilson. And gentlemen, he did not get it done. He was terrible. The Commanders, we all had the Commanders winning this game, and they did 21-6. So not a shock there whatsoever. Couple takeaways that I had from this game. Bill Nye, all you Bill fans, get in here. Let's go. Bill McCroskey Merritt was the guy. He went 10 for 82 and 1. So congratulations to all you dirty sickos that had Bill as the running back 1. The other thing that I found to be pretty interesting is Debo not only bulked up this season, ate too many cheeseburgers, he also saw the bulk of the targets here for the Commanders. He went 7 for 10. He was the leading receiver for this Commanders team, which I'm a little surprised with at the fact that, Debo last year with the 49ers looked like he had lost a step, looked like he wasn't able to play at the level that we had seen him at. And he does look a lot thicker with a CK, but he was still usable in this offense and they got it done. On the other side of the ball, the Giants, they looked exactly how I expected they would. Russell Wilson looked absolutely terrible. And the Giants, gentlemen, they're already under scrutiny about doing a quarterback swap. I've been famously said too many times, Jackson Dart's going to be the starter by week 5. That narrative is already getting pushed, and it might come before week 5 because they're already getting a lot of heat, and they've already come out and said today they're not going to, Russell Wilson's going to start week 2. So this is going to be continuing. And I think if it doesn't happen before week 5, it will be week 5. But I think there's a chance it could even come sooner at the level of play that we saw to Russ.
This is, of all the narratives that we saw through week 1, this is the funniest. It's the funniest that after the first game, they're like, God, when is Russell Wilson going to stop being our starter? Jesus Christ. Like, I can't take it anymore. It is very funny. And yeah, it's true. We've said it a million times that the only way Giants fans leave this season semi-happy is by feeling like they have their quarterback of the future. And for that to happen, Jackson Dart has to play. So it's just a matter of time. But in the meantime, it's going to be very funny to watch this narrative as it unfolds.
As somebody that owns Tyrone Tracy shares, seeing Russell be the leading rusher pain me, and I also want to see him off this team because that's not how this
I think
is
that's not
supposed
going to
go.
change if it's Jackson Dart, by the way. I've seen people besides myself say they've kind of compared him to a miniature Josh Allen, which validates my feelings because I've been saying that since he got drafted. But I've seen a couple places kind of start that narrative a little bit more, and I feel very validated to be the conductor of that train.
Yeah, I saw the report and I was going to tag you in it where they're like, we're not confirming who the starter is next week for the Giants. I was like, oh, we might be cashing in that dart early rather than we thought like week 5 or 6 or whatever you had said. So
hey, gentlemen, benefits to doing a live show. I got
what's up?
Breaking
semi-breaking news. I wouldn't say it's breaking news, but it's definitely worth talking about.
Is it George Kittle?
George Kittle, yes, 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it is a possibility that the 49ers are going to have to sign another quarterback to be a backup this week. The decision hinges on how Brock Purdy's shoulder progresses over the next 24 hours. So there are concerns there. What the big news here is CMC is the last one standing, who expected that?
Talk about an entire organization that is a glass house. and I didn't have the 49ers listed to talk about today, so I don't have a chippy little headline to put there. But if we were talking about that game, my biggest concerns are the health of that team already is in shambles, and we saw it happen. George Kittle went out early. This team is lackadaisical for weapons, and Brock Purdy did not look fantastic, and it's largely due to the fact that I don't think he has all. I mean, Brandon Ayuk is out, and so is not Ricky Pearsall. Jawan Jennings is out, and then he lost Kittle, and it was the CMC show this entire game. So everything hinges on his health for this organization right now, and it is concerning. And now, Brock Purdy's popping up as well. That is a concern. I am very concerned for the 49ers. Not as a Cardinals fan, I'm actually very happy to hear this, but the 49ers they're entering dangerous waters, I think. So the last thing I wanted to talk about on this Giants game was, and this is just maybe a little note to throw in at the end of it is the Giants would not let Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston speak to the press, which is actually required of NFL teams, that they allow players at the end of games to do pressers as well as once during the week. And the Giants have kind of locked both Dart and Jameis Winston down. I think the change is going to come sooner than we think. I think it could be before.
I think so too.
What would be the reason for not letting them talk? Like they're afraid Jameis is going to go up there and be like, yeah, this guy fucking sucks.
Probably because I think they're afraid that they're going to go in there and slander their starting quarterback. And what does that do for the image of the Giants?
Nothing that hasn't already been done to the
Giants. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm trying to look at it from So, all right, let's talk about the Titans Broncos game. We had Cam Ward, rookie over 101 pick here, start this game, and the Titans lose this 12-20. solid defensive performance by Denver, but the things that I took away from this is Cam Ward. He looked good. Like, Cam Ward looked good. However, the rest of his team did not. They looked absolutely terrible. It was actually comical. Ward's dad was actually at the game. He was in the stands. All of the receivers for the Titans were dropping balls left and right, and they actually panned over to Cam Ward's dad, and he was in the stands, and he got up and was throwing his arms up in the air because Cam Ward was making the right reads. He was making the right throws, and his receivers couldn't catch absolutely anything. My thought, maybe Cam Ward just throws the ball too hard. That's what I saw. That guy can freaking sling it, and he throws a missile. And maybe he's just throwing the ball too hard. Maybe give a little bit of a touch on there. I don't know.
Juice.
I don't know. Go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say this game I was kind of shocked at how close it was for so long. In my mind, I'm like, the Broncos are just going to steamroll them. Like, I thought this was just going to be no question. I have an amazing defense rolling out a rookie quarterback in his first start. And he looked good, but he only threw for 112 yards. He wasn't like blowing the doors off anything. But he's learning. Like, it's what a week one. I thought the more concerning thing for me from the Broncos side was how Bo Nix looked.
Agreed.
Very erratic. He threw a couple picks. He looked like he didn't really have great control over the offense. He almost looked like he regressed from last year. And I don't know.
That was my question. That was going to be my question to you guys: are we entering the sophomore slumps with Bo Nix? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like regression.
I'd love to talk about this because this was by far the biggest takeaway, and it's something that I think a lot of NFL fans. We get so excited about, Bo Nix looked pretty good, and we got so much enthusiasm about this team, and they're only going to move in the right direction. And we forget that this offense does not have a lot of weapons. And it's like you kind of expect Bo Nix to go out there and do God's work, but it's tough to do that. And if he doesn't play a perfect game, the offense is going to struggle, and that's going to be the case all season long. Now, there's no question that this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they can rely on that a lot, and they can probably sneak
were they
wins.
though in this game?
Well, that's the thing. Again, it's week one. I think when you look on paper, this defense is going to be really good, and I have a lot of faith in that. I'm not worried about any one performance. I think the trend is going to be this defense is really tough to play. But I think the trend for the offense is going to be a little bit sporadic. It's going to be some days it's going to work better than others, and the defense is going to have to win them some games this season. And I think that there are a lot of people who are a little bit too high on the Broncos this offseason. And I said it before, that people were saying, the Broncos are going to dethrone the Chiefs as the AFC champion. Like, yeah, that might happen, but I'm not betting any money that the Broncos are going to be really, really good. Like, I'm just not.
How do you guys see this division playing out at this current juncture post week one for all four of these teams?
If the Chiefs continue to struggle, I still think if the Chiefs defense can bring up, I think it's still the Chiefs. They're going to get Rashee Rice back. We'll see what happens with Xavier Worthy. I think down the stretch, I think they could have a run a la like the Bengals did to end the year. I think it's going to be a struggle for the Chiefs for these next 5 weeks. Mainly their schedule, 2, they're beat up, and it's just going to be an uphill battle for them. I think this might actually be the Chargers' year. Everybody always tries to anoint them. I think for the last 4 years, everybody said the Chiefs aren't going to win the division. It's going to be the Chargers. So for like 4 years, I think they tried that. And this is the 1 year we didn't hear it, and it's probably the 1 year it's actually going to happen where the Chargers actually win the division. I could, at this point in time, you put a gun to my head. I think it's going to go Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. That order.
Scotty, you're shaking your head no.
That's a dramatic overreaction to week one because here's the thing, and I agree with you. Obviously, if the Chiefs suck for the whole season like we saw in week one, then yeah, they're not going to win. So that's not controversial. But what we saw in this Chargers game is the Chiefs played as bad as it's possible for them to play, and the Chargers still kind of had to fight out the win. And I don't think the Chargers are going to play a bunch of teams that completely lay down like the Chiefs did in every phase of the game. Like the Chiefs legitimately might have lost that game to any opponent. So I think we're looking at the Chargers and say, Justin Herbert, he played so well. He really has control of the side. He threw to wide open receivers for 4 straight quarters. I mean, it was that bad on the Chiefs side of the ball that I'm really not putting a bunch of stock into the Chargers. I think the Chargers and the Broncos are kind of right in the same area where it's like, they'll win some games, they'll lose some games. Well, for me, it's the Chiefs still hands down as number one. I don't think it's going to be close. Again, if they continue to suck, then that'll change. But I think they have the best team on paper. They have the pedigree. And I really am concerned about the Chargers being consistent. I'm really concerned about the Broncos. I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say Chargers after seeing what they did, maybe jump to number 2. But I think between them and the Broncos is going to be close, and the Raiders are going to be coming last because I think they're going to give up 40 points a game.
Okay. I am still of the camp. I'll take Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. I think this offense is going to struggle this year. And I think if this last game was any indicator, I think it's going to be a problem because the Titans aren't a good team. I mean, the Titans are on the bottom tier of what most people have as a competing team. So it's week 1. I don't want to write too much into it, but I didn't know if anybody's mentality had changed. Let's talk about a mentality that changed starting in the fourth quarter, being the Bills come back and beat the Ravens. This very well, gentlemen, this might have been game of the year. Week 1, we already got game of the year. This was insane. This game was absolutely everything you ever wanted out of a football game. I was soaking it in. I absolutely loved it. I mean, the Bills won 41-40 at the very last second. Everything that could have gone wrong for the Ravens in the fourth quarter absolutely went wrong. The Ravens, they became the first team in NFL history to lose a game when scoring 40 or more points and rushing for over 235 yards. And the thing, I cannot understand for the life of me how Derrick Henry is still able to be as dominant as he is at 31 years old. You couldn't stop him. You could not stop him. He was running everywhere. He had that unfortunate fumble that really cost him the game. And admittedly, Henry even owned it. He said, this loss is on me. And it was. If he didn't fumble there, the game was over. And he did, and that sucks. But there were so many anomalies that went right for the Bills as well. I mean, you look at the touchdown to Keon Coleman. It was a tipped ball on a 4th down play. Yeah. That never should have happened. Never. That shouldn't happen. And Derrick Henry, I mean, how often are we sitting here saying he fumbles the ball? Ball security is like the number one thing for him. So you had 2 absolute anomalies, but damn it, is Josh Allen a good quarterback?
Well, you also had anomalies on the Bills side that went against them too, where Keon Coleman was forced out of bounds on that 2-point conversion and then came back in and they basically called it incomplete, which I'm pretty sure is not the rule. I'm pretty sure if you are forced out of bounds, you're allowed to come back in and touch the ball. And if you watch that replay, I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion that he was forced out of bounds. And then on top of that, Keon, dropped another 2-point conversion. Like the Bills might have been winning by the end of that game without the last second drive, if those things didn't happen. So that's just what happens in close games. You get these sort of back and forth, which way is the wind going to blow to push the team over the edge. It's funny. I was watching this game while talking to a Bills fan, and it was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He's like, I'm so happy football's back, but this just feels exactly the same way. It's the Bills come in, they can't win the big games, and he was just like down on himself, talking shit on the Bills. And man,
can you blame him?
Turn around fast.
Yeah.
No,
can you blame him?
It was electric. And Josh Allen basically talked shit on all the fans who did exactly that at the end of the game.
Yeah, they left early, and he's like, maybe just have some more faith.
We're all jaded fans. Yeah. Everybody is. Everybody's got this thing where they're like, damn it, here we go again. It's always this. And I think, in hockey, they call it puck luck. And in this game, that's what the Bills had towards the end of the game. Like every scenario that played out that could have gone in their favor went in their favor. And if you're a Ravens fan, like that has to be the only game in NFL history where you have 2 players rushing for 10 plus yards. You've scored 3 rushing touchdowns. You've scored 40 points and you still lose the game. That defense I don't know if they got tired his first game of the season and everybody was exhausted by the end of it, but they just completely imploded where it should have been easy. They had a pick late that was actually dropped that probably would have sealed the game too, where it had hit the ground. Like there's a lot of things that went wrong, right? But to your point, I think it was almost inevitable. Like you felt it, you felt the momentum. You're like, Josh Allen is not going to let this team lose. He's going to get them in position. They're going to figure out a way to win. It was just incredible. It was incredible.
I think that last point that you just made is really important because there are so many people who, we put out that graphic of our Super Bowl predictions and none of us had the Ravens. And everyone's like, oh, so much disrespect for Lamar Jackson. But that mentality that you just said right there, Josh Allen is not going to let this team lose. I have never seen Lamar Jackson have that mentality in games where it really matters. Like, yeah, he wins the games he's supposed to win in the regular season. He does lots of flashy stuff. But that's the difference between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, where when Josh Allen's in that situation, when Patrick Mahomes is in that situation, when Tom Brady used to be in those situations, we're like, yeah, he's going to get the job done. I don't feel that way about Lamar Jackson, and I especially don't feel that way about him once you get into the important games. I know this is week 1, but you talk about the postseason.
No.
Yeah, it's the same shit.
No. I Ravens fans, come find me. You will never win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. I've said that. I will continue to say that. You will never win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. Last night I'm watching that game and I'm like, is this their year? I have been very vocally saying you'll never win the Super Bowl. And going into the end of the third quarter, I was like, they look good, man. They look so good. And you know, then yeah. And they do. They look really good.
They always look good.
But the Bills, I mean, they found a way to win. And Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, period. And the fact that a lot of people were talking a lot of shit about Lamar Jackson being snubbed as an MVP and it shouldn't have been Josh Allen. This is why. And yes, Josh Allen had a lot of things going for him. He did. But that mentality is there. And I really echo what Scotty said there. I don't see it out of Lamar. And I don't think I ever will, because I don't think he's got that. And I think that's what elevates Josh Allen. That's what makes him so good, is the fact that he'll go down trying. He will not just bend over and say, well, it was a good game. Like, he knows at the end of the day, if he has an opportunity, he's not going to stop until the whistle blows and it's 0 seconds on the clock. That is just Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for this Ravens offense is they struggle to put games away. And I forget the graphic, don't have it in front of me, but it was something like it was double-digit losses where the Ravens are winning in the fourth quarter under Harbaugh. And it was fairly recent, but I think this is just a symptom of they're really good early on. They have a good game plan. They run it down. And then when it's time to now you need a play to get a first down, you need to do something, they struggle because then everybody's queuing in on the run. And they know the Ravens want to do that. And I think that's what played into that Derrick Henry fumble. There was no risk of Lamar throwing the ball. Nobody was scared that Lamar might try to throw one over the top on them. Whereas somebody like Josh Allen, where that's always in the back of your mind. Like, yes, I know we're trying to stop him, but we can't let him get one over on us because he will complete it. And I don't know why this always shows up at the end, because during the game, it's there. Those passes are there. He's able to make those throws. And I
wonder if it's Harbaugh.
I think so. I think he goes into a shell, or that offense or Monken goes into a shell when they get into late game scenarios. I think they kind of panic. They look like they panic. They look like a team where they were not sure what they wanted to do at the end. They didn't have anything in their back pocket. They're like, all right, you know what? This is our game ceiling. These are the few plays that we run that we know we're going to get 5-6 yards. They tried to do a sweep to Flowers. They were just trying to pound it up the middle. The one play that worked was like a play action or rollout with Lamar late. And I was like, why don't you just do that every time? Fake it to Henry, let Lamar roll out. He can try to run it he can try to get you with his feet, or he can hit somebody intermediate. And they just didn't do it. They didn't have that. They just didn't even call it.
That's the same problem I got with this team right here. Run the play action, man. Like, we have the quarterback that can run it. We can throw it. But yeah, congratulations to the Bills. What an absolutely phenomenal game. Week 1 Sunday night slate could not have ended any better. I absolutely loved it. I quickly want to ask you guys, what's your biggest takeaways this week? What's your biggest surprise out of week 1? Just pick one. We'll start with you, Scotty. What was your biggest surprise post week 1 minus Monday Night Football, which we'll talk about here in just a moment?
Biggest surprise is, and call me a homer, it's definitely how bad the Chiefs defense looked. Definitely. That was one thing I had total faith in, that there was I was always concerned about the offense because, I was excited that we had some receivers, but obviously, Worthy's kind of unproven. Also, he's kind of a gadget guy. He's not supposed to be getting all this volume. And then, Hollywood's kind of, hit and miss, and obviously Rashee Rice. So I was always kind of concerned about the offense. But the defense, I was 100% positive I was going to be able to rely on them. And I'm still hoping that we will. But that performance was about as bad as it gets. And that definitely took me by surprise the most.
Okay. Alan, what do you got?
Biggest surprise was the Dolphins looking as bad as they did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been shocked if the Dolphins lost. Like, no part of me would have been like, oh, wow, that's crazy they lost that game. Like, I mean, that's well within their grasp to lose a game like that on the road. I think it was just how bad they looked. They looked like they had never played together. And this is when, whatever year of the McDaniels era, and they still looked lost. That was concerning to me. That was the most shocking part of the week.
You took mine. I could give you another one that's not as juicy, but that was the exact one that I had teed up. Is this Dolphins team looked terrible. And for somebody that, you kind of hit all the talking points there. It's not like you have a new quarterback or a head coach. Both of these guys have a lot of rapport with each other. Tua couldn't move past his first read, and it wasn't working at all. And I think the Dolphins are they're going down on the list, and I think there is every opportunity that they will be the worst team or one of the worst teams in the NFL by the conclusion of the season. Mike McDaniels might get fired by week 7. I mean, that's certainly on the table. And now, I guess I'll come up with another one. I was really disappointed in Bryce Young. I had a lot of optimism that he was going to continue that trajectory in that I say second year leap. He's been in the league for a little while now, but continue the end of last season. You thought he figured it out, and then I kind of just watched him fizzle and crumble, and it didn't look great. And I thought with the addition of Tet, it was going to look a little bit better, and it didn't. So I hang my hat on the Dolphins one, but if I had to give it an ancillary, that would be it. And now let's finish this thing off. Monday Night Preview. Gentlemen, we have a very exciting. I'm super excited for this game. It is a division rivalry between the Bears and the Vikings. But here in an hour and some change, we're going to be watching this game play out. What do you guys want to unpack here on this game? I mean, there's a lot to unpack. You got rookie quarterback that's not a rookie in JJ McCarthy, but this is his rookie season. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson. How's it going to look? Where do you guys want to start here?
I think for the sake of all Bears fans' psyche and being a Bears podcast now.
We are a Bears podcast,
season,
yes.
I want to see domination from the Bears. There's no reason why they should not dominate this game in multiple facets. Like, let Justin Jefferson get his $110 and a touchdown. Let him get his 7 receptions, but nobody else should be doing anything. Like, that is what I want. And then subsequently for this offense, I would love to see them averaging 7-8 yards a play and just be humming. Like, that's what I want to see from this team. And I think if we don't see that, or it looks sloppy, or they lose in kind of a way where it's like, wow, you never had a shot. Like, it's going to be some tough conversations already for the Bears fans in this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fun thing about this matchup is and I think a lot of people probably agree that these two teams are going to be fighting for last in the division. Doesn't mean either of the teams are going to be bad, but I do think that that's going to be the most likely case. And the reason for that is the uncertainty. Obviously, with J.J. McCarthy, obviously with Ben Johnson, and now Caleb Williams hopefully taking a step forward, we don't really know what these teams are going to look like with the new offensive scheme and the new quarterback. So that's what everyone's going to be watching here today. I don't really think the win or the loss matters as much as the product that we see on the field for both of these offenses in particular. Because, if the Bears lose, but, Caleb Williams throws for, 280 and has a good completion percentage and looks competent, then Bears fans are going to be ecstatic because they know that they're in a tough division, and against a lot of teams outside of this division, that's going to be plenty to win. So I think that's the case also for J.J. McCarthy. If he comes out and just looks competent, doesn't really look like a rookie, looks like he fits in and at least, plays as well as Sam Darnold did, which, depending on who you ask, that may or may not be difficult or easy. If we see that, you're going to have a lot of optimism out of the Vikings as well. But with that relatively simple blueprint for success, there is a lot of risk, because if Caleb Williams comes out and looks still like runs around with like a chicken with his head cut off, or if JJ comes out and just does not look like he rose to the occasion at all, you're going to have a lot of people saying, oh shit, like this is worse than we ever imagined. So it's a really high stakes week 1 matchup.
Who wins, gentlemen? Who wins the game tonight?
Bears 28-20.
I think it's a coin toss, but we're a Bears podcast, so I'm going to be pulling for the Bears. I want them to win. 29-21.
29? Wow.
You dick.
I'll take the Bears too. And I'm going to say 30-22. Let's just keep the trend going. No, I think it's going to be I'll say 21 Vikings, 28 Bears. I think that's how this plays out. I have one more question for you guys before we get off.
Yeah.
Kiss cam of the week. You get to kiss one player, one fan, one singular entity in the NFL space. You can kiss them on the lips, kiss them on the cheek, kiss them on the forehead. You can kiss them anywhere. Who we kissing?
Ooh.
Who we kissing?
Who we gonna kiss?
You want me to give you mine first? I can kick this one off.
Go for it. And yeah, you have.
I'm gonna kiss the fan that shoved DeAndre Hopkins that Lamar Jackson shoved into the stands. I'm going to give him a kiss on the forehead because he is now banned from the stadium. He's never allowed back in there. I found it absolutely hilarious that Lamar Jackson mid-game just shoved a fan over. I'm going to give you a kiss on the forehead. You tried your best, but you're out of here. So that's my kiss of the week.
Who I want to kiss?
Yeah. Give him a kiss. Wet, sloppy, maybe dry, whatever kind of kiss you're looking for. You can tell him to kiss your ass if you want.
That's a whole nother angle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of angles. We're kissing. We're kissing cheeks.
Fine, Carl Jeffers.
Yeah, buddy.
He can kiss my ass. Piece of shit.
All right, Carl Sheffers kissing your ass. And Scotty, who are you kissing this week?
I'm gonna kiss Josh Allen. I feel like he's been getting a lot of shit recently about his wife being in movies with super hot black guys, and everyone's like, I don't know, Josh Allen, this is getting kind of weird for you. I think you just might need a kiss. Watching his wife spit in Michael B. Jordan's mouth or whatever happened in that movie
Hawk to it right in that thing, baby.
Is a pretty crazy thing to do. So I think he needs a kiss from old Scott Del Rey.
I agree. I love that one. All right, gentlemen. It's been fun. It's been a heck of a ride, and we are going to continue the train here at Monday Night Football. All you brainiacs out there, hope you enjoyed this. Tune in. We're going to have more of these every single week, so we're going to be talking about your teams. We didn't cover a couple teams this week, namely the Arizona Cardinals. We got a dub this week. Very excited about that. But we'll be covering all these different games and all these headlines and storylines, so continue to ride the journey with us. Go over to your favorite podcast platform. Hit that subscribe button. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We're there, I promise you. Appreciate it. I love you guys. Let's get the hell out of here. We are
out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into our new releases every week on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out LeatherBrainz.com for all of your fantasy football needs. And remember, Brainiacs, a championship should be more than a fantasy.